Madam Deputy President. And I mean, I guess we couldn't all expect anything differently as we enter into an election year. Of course, the politicking, the smears, the constant creation of fear that all those on the other side have was what was set to continue and most likely escalate. And I think, the last 45 minutes have demonstrated to us what all Australians who want to see this place achieve things can see is going to happen over the next couple of months. Stunts, smears and fear. It's all you've got. All the other side have to offer Australia. And we know as Australians are looking to come out from under the doona. Australians want government to get out of their life. They want their life to go back to normal. Australians are desperately hoping that their businesses can start to function as normal. Their kids can go to school as normal. Their job security, their social lives, everything that goes on around their kids and the sport that they play, the dance lessons, the rugby season, the cricket, all of that goes back to normal and parents can start to participate again. But not over there. No, no, no. No way we want Australians going back to any sort of normal life. And so today, the fear campaign is centred around aged care. And aged care has always been an incredibly difficult area of public policy. It has always been a very, and I guess sad, part of the Australian experience and Australian community, because at the end of the day, when most Australians enter aged care facilities, and particularly high-need aged care facilities, we do know that this is not something they go into because they're in a great state of health. They don't go into these sort of situations because they're entering the prime of their life. They are not. It is absolutely at the sunset, hence why it's called the sunset time of life. And I know this because my mother's in an aged care home and has been in a high needs facility for 4 years. And because of the pandemic, I haven't been able to see her for over 12 months because no one is allowed in. Now, no one's allowed in, and as of today, 100% of clinics have been offered a booster shot. 100% of aged care facilities have been offered a booster clinic and had a booster clinic. Now, some of the reason why some people haven't had a booster shot is because the health wasn't able to take it at that point in time. They were on other medication. It was advised for them not to receive that booster shot. But never let the truth of a situation get in the way of a smear campaign from those opposite. So we do want Australian families to be able to be together. We do want Australian families to be able to spend time with their loved ones in aged care. But we do know, when we saw with Omicron, that it spread far more easily. But we also knew that people, when they got Omicron, showed very little symptoms, if any symptoms at all. In fact, for the vast majority of people, they didn't even know they had it, didn't even know they were positive with COVID. And this is another problem that we've got with a lot of the state governments and their reporting. They're obsessed with how many daily cases of COVID there are. And then they start to talk about how many people are in hospital. And then they talk about the deaths from COVID. What they don't talk about is the fact that lots of women go into hospital every day to have a baby. And when they go into hospital, they're tested for COVID. And there's a remarkable number of them that didn't even know they were COVID positive, but they are then counted in the numbers. And then when we do see people unfortunately die, and I know those opposite might have forgotten this, but ultimately all of us, every single one of us in here, is going to die. When people die and they happen to have COVID, not that they died from COVID, they could have died from cancer. They could have died from a gunshot wound to the stomach. But if they had COVID, they're counted as a COVID death. And this is just continuing to perpetuate the fear that you want to see Australians live under, because you don't like small business, you don't like family-run business, you love a government handout, you love boosting your union mates, making sure you can pay them all as much as possible, shutting down any entrepreneurship or Australian spirit of having a go. You want everyone hiding under the doona. We know that because the world's longest lockdown was your mate Dan Andrews, Premier of Victoria, who oversaw the longest lockdown in history. But guess what? Guess what we also saw last year? That federal government responsibility. It was only in Victoria that we saw that mass outbreak of deaths. The biggest deaths occurred in Victoria, but in no way was this in relation to Victoria. This was nothing to do with Premier Andrews. I mean, he was probably too busy trying to deal with Adam Somyurak and what happened with the red shirts, making sure IBAC and the Victorian Police never looked into anything. Because you lot won't ever look into anything if it involves a Victorian Premier or a Labor Premier. when Palaszczuk had Queensland locked off. We know Western Australia can't even handle.
Senator Hughes, please refer to leaders in other parliaments by their correct titles. Thank you.
Premier Palaszczuk can't handle it, just wants the lockdown, as does Mr McGowan.
Thank you.
Shutting
Your
off
time
the world.
has expired. Senator Watt.